One of the most interesting things about you is that for 7 years, you were a submariner in the Navy. And in order to run a nuclear submarine, you were trained in nuclear engineering. That's wild to me. That's such a cool specialization to have about the world. Wow. So, can you tell us a bit about that experience? And did nuclear physics help in your data analyst career later?
Yeah. So I served 7 years in the United States Navy, specifically in the submarine force, which all of our submarines in the United States Navy use nuclear power. And yeah, well, it was a crazy time. Just so much time. I spent almost close to 2 years of my life underneath water, and
Wow.
it's just like, oh, like my 20s completely gone because, or not, I wouldn't say completely gone. It was a great time, great learning experience, but like so much time away from family and friends, out to sea, running a submarine, going places. And so there's parts that I miss, especially like the camaraderie and everything like that.
Right.
But then there's parts of like I'm looking out of a window right now. Like I actually have a window and I can go outside later. Whereas I would go like on this submarine, I would go underwater for 3, 4 months at a time.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We go,
Wow.
yeah. Yeah, we just go for 3 or 4 months at a time. The only thing we're really limited by, because it's nuclear power, we can make our own power, we can make our own water. We're limited by food. And so that's whenever we have to come back to land. We actually our submarine is not one of the bigger ones, and so we'd have to. There wasn't a lot of food storage, and so you'd actually have like cans of food on the ground, and we put plywood on top of it, and then you would eat those cans of food as you and then you could remove the plywood. But sometimes like some of that way where areas that you walk through the submarine, it was even shorter than usual because you had these cans of food that you had to walk on.
Wow, that is so interesting. I had no idea. I kind of
Yeah.
thought it would be like 3 or 4 days in most. I thought and then my liberal estimate, once you started saying 3 to 4, I thought at most you'd say weeks. 3 to 4
Yeah.
months, that's wild. So how do you make the water? You take salt water and then you use, like, nuclear energy to, like, desalinate it?
Yeah, so they have two different type. I mean, I hope this isn't classified. I don't think it is. It's pretty open knowledge, I think. You can either like boil the water. I'll give general examples. You can either boil the water, they're called like an evaporator, and so you use this like a hot water and boil the water and it cleans the water, or you use a reverse osmosis unit, which is more just like powered through electricity to shock it and get out the
Yeah.
clean water.
Right, right, right.
We had the evaporator option on mine, and
Yeah.
yeah, you can only make so much, right? So you have to, and you can only make it so fast. So water conservation, like they call it, they have like submarine showers. You're supposed to like get in, bathe real quick, like you wet yourself, shower down,
Mhm.
turn off the water, like soap up, and then rinse off, and then get out. You're not supposed to like
Right,
waste water. So
right. I mean, that's amazing that there's enough to be showering at all. Like, that's wild.
yeah.
It
Well, I'm just that I mean the submarines are pretty they're pretty oh I mean they're such fascinating things because I mean like a football field long, right? And just like tanks galore with freshwater tanks, sanitary tanks to store your waste,
Mhm.
ballast tanks, so large tanks to ballast the ship up and down. And it's just but I guess this sort of relates to your question, right? Of how does this relate to my analytical career? So a lot of that stuff I didn't realize at the time, but we're dealing with data at real time on a
Mhm.
submarine. So you have
Mhm.
to analyze this data all the time. So like if I was so I had to work in the for a little bit in the engineering power plant. So I would run the nuclear reactor, me and a team of like 10 other individuals. And we have to look at all these different gauges, monitor pressure inside of the reactor, temperature inside the reactor, look at trends, you have to plot it. And so there's a lot of like look at chemistry, understand the trends that are going on with the chemistry inside of it. Anyway,
Mhm.
there's a lot of numbers. And so there's a lot of understanding behind what's happening with the data and where it's going. So it was just sort of second nature whenever I got into transition to a data analyst coming from that role because it's like I'm surrounded by numbers like all the time. This is
Mhm.
just this is just now I have I don't want to talk bad about the government, but this now I have just better tools to analyze the data now, because we were like doing like paper logs, and the Navy has improved like the paper logs, like recording these numbers for all these things, and we've improved in that way. But now I have like advanced tools that I can analyze the stuff and do some more trend analysis. So yeah, there's, I guess, pros and cons.